let's just dive into Gathering the Roll then. Of course, it is November 24th, 2017, and we have plenty of news to talk about this week. So, of course, let's start off where we always start off with every week, our CCG binder, and dive into, well, there's always a little bit of Magic the Gathering talking about. So, over the past week, Iconic Masters came out. Now, this is a set of special cards that is a compilation of famous and popular cards throughout Magic's history, throughout its 25 years of putting out products. This is in a way a celebration of it. It's similar to the Modern Masters series, which has been coming out, but rather than just modern cards, the modern format of cards, it is taking cards from every Magic set and putting them together, so you can find things from a lot older Magic sets which were also relatively popular, put all together here, including mostly a lot of modern ones which are very popular, of course, but you can check it out now. It is available. It is, of course, unfortunately, like the Modern Master series, more expensive, but it is a lot more, in general, better cards, so maybe that's why you want to see it, check it out, and get it for yourself. Let's move on. Grand Prix Lyon. So this weekend, there will be a Grand Prix. Grand Prix. I'm just going to call him Grand Prix. God, I started saying it. Yes, thank you, Joe. You got me to say it. Anyway, Grand Prix. Grand Prix Lyon in France is going on. So it is, you can register now. It is going to be a team-based limited event. So that means you will have to register with a team. Everybody say hi to Streamcat, because she showed up because I started streaming, like she did last night. The registration is 75, I think euro per player. I'm bad with the symbols here. 225 per team. They're aiming for 800 teams available. So if you're in Europe and you want to play some team limited Ixalan, hey, this might be your chance to come in and join them now. Let's see here. We do have some Yu-Gi-Oh news. There is a new Yu-Gi-Oh booster pack out this week. Spirit Warriors, a 60-card booster pack. 5 cards per pack, $4 per pack. It's taking advantage of the latest updates to the card game. Linked monsters, extra monster zones, strategic card placements are all elements of decks that will be built using these Spirit Warriors. In addition to introducing 2 brand new deck types. So the 6 Samurai returns. If you are familiar with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll know that this is one that is, again, a returning one. And 2 brand new monster themes that are coming out, Magical Musketeers and Weather Painters. So this might be an interesting one for you to check out now. As it says, it's a 60-card set with 40 super rares and 20 secret rares. So, alright, let's just move on from our CGG binder to our RPG bookshelf, because there are some RPGs coming out this week. Xanathar's Guide to Everything came out. So, this is a new book from D&D, of course. It's the Beholder Xanathar, an infamous crime lord in Waterdeep, knows a little bit about everything, and now you can learn a little bit about everything from his book. It has over 25 new subclasses for your characters, including ones for Fighter, Druid, Ranger, Rogue, etc. Lots of new spells, racial feats, systems to give your characters randomized backstories, some tools for a DM to use to add new traps, magic items, downtime activities, and more. A lot of stuff all to make your D&D adventures a lot better. Some of it, of course, based upon material that was published previously in Unearthed Arcanas, other of which they're just bringing in for themselves. So you can see the combination of material from both of these sources brought together and being shown off now for you to check out. So, Xanathar's Guide to Everything is, of course, out now. We'll wait on that one. So, also out, we do have a Paizo/Pathfinder product. Only one this week. Yes, they do release a lot. It's a map pack, Frozen Sites. If you're going to a remote glacier, some kind of place that's a frozen wasteland, Maybe you want to check out and use some map tiles that they have together to build something. There's avalanche geodes, frozen lake shores, ice caves, crevices, igloos, forests that are covered in snow. If you're having like ice-based adventures or cold-based adventures, whether in going to a territory that is actually covered in ice, or just going to an area that perhaps is in the depths of winter, this might be what you need to build up your map tiles together. And these are 5 by 8 inch map tiles that you can throw together in any kind of format that you need. So maybe when you need those purple worms to be bursting out of the ice and getting people, this might be what you need to put it together. Alright. Next up, we will move on from our RPG bookshelf to our card game desk, where we actually have a D&D, I think that's actually, oh, I'm sorry, we'll do a card game. Yes, we'll do the card game because I'm in order. Anyway, so yeah, we have a card game desk. We do have a new product that's out. We have, for Thanksgiving, Fat Turkey. It is a card game. It's all about fattening up, trying to avoid being the one that's going to be eaten for the holiday and be the last one still out in the yard after it, basically. So it's a little game for 2 to 9 players, in fact 2 to 9 turkeys, a mini card game. So Farmer Jack is basically fattening up his turkeys for market, and your aim is to keep your weight down and basically not be the one selected to be eaten. Very simple. You can get it now. It is from the UK, so it is about £6.99, standard delivery to there, but you could get it internationally. So if you wanted to get it for the holiday, you can now. 52 card set. Not a very expensive one. And if you want a little bit of holiday theme, if you're here in America like me, this might be a card game for you to check out. Alright. We have Time Barons. Time Barons is available now. So, this is another game from WizKids. It's designed for 2 to 4 players, where you recruit followers and use weapons from all ages to take out rival barons and their own followers throughout time. You can have 3 actions per turn. You gain more followers, build sites, play action cards, place attachments on your sites. You can also move different eras to get different materials from those eras. Each era represents different technologies, different kinds of cards. There are 4 eras in total. Cards in higher eras have stronger abilities. Action-reaction cards can, of course, be used to time the time of battle. So there's a lot of materials and a lot of types of cards to throw together to build yourself up and to basically go against other barons and to win the battle, so to say. You either reduce your player's followers to 0 to win. You have the most of 3 piles of era cards have been emptied also. So basically there's those 2 ways. Either you're the last one with followers, or after 3 eras have been emptied, you have the most followers. And now it is a good best with dual format. So that's an important thing to note here. Though it is 2 to 4 players, this is going to be a game that's going to be best for you to play with just you and a friend. Though there are rules for 2 versus 1 and teams of 2 versus 2 that are provided with the books. There is a free-for-all format, as well as planned expansion cards that we're going to add new sites, weapons, and events. But you're going to have to wait a little bit to throw everything together. But the base game now is available, that you can get it for $25 US as the base price to look for it. So do expect more from this game, but if you're interested in this idea of being a time baron and having control over time with the most followers, hey, this might be the game for you. And hi Stark, welcome to the stream. So, why don't we move on? We do have a couple more card games to talk about. Another one from WizKids. Let's talk about Team Play. It's a cooperative card game. So, I mean, with a name like Team Play, you're hoping it's cooperative. It kind of sounds like that. You and your partner work together to complete mission cards, earn bonus points before other teams. So it is still a competitive game in a way, but you are in teams. Teams of 2. The missions are various combinations of numbers and colors, such as 2 pairs of uneven numbers, etc. Various things that you do, and if you can't directly say what you're unable to say directly what your goals are. You and your teammate must be able to read each other's needs effectively. So there's a little bit of non-communication that you're going to have to discuss here in order to get along. It doesn't say you can't speak to each other. It's just you can't talk about certain things here to help you make a little bit of non-verbal communication, just to add into that. The other teams are trying to accomplish their own missions, so you have to be smart and faster than them, of course, in order to score the most points. And doing that will get you the win. So it's going to be you and your friend playing together. This is a $20 game that is available now. Oh. Oops. Oh. Sorry. It's of order now. I misread this one. So apologize to everyone listening. I misread that one when I was researching what was new this week. This is actually coming out soon, but it's order for pre-order now. So we'll probably talk about it a little bit more in the future. I will link to this one probably episode when we do talk about it then. Let's just move on, though. I always loved making the mistakes. It's like that Kickstarter I made that I didn't notice it was done or canceled until I actually got into it. Sometimes you miss, like, when they, like, say, like, their announcements. This is this. This is this. Confusing sometimes. Anyway, why don't we move on one to I did see was actually released. A Legend of the Five Rings card game, a Dynasty pack for Honor and Glory. So if we did talk about how the Legend of Five Rings card game, it came out pretty recently. They've already thrown a bunch of new Dynasty packs out that are basically small packs of cards that you can get to add to it. So this pack features 3 copies of 20 cards, bringing even more Imperial cards to Legend of the Five Rings game. It introduces a cycle of magistrates that you can use. It introduces some new things for things like monks, for weapons like high kick, stuff for cavalry. So it's techniques, items, magistrates, all coming out in Honor and Glory, which is available from the local retailer today. So if you are a fan of Legend of Five Rings card game, as has come out now, the new thing, or just a Legend of Five Rings fan, and you're wanting to get into the card game, maybe consider getting this pack to enhance your game. Alright, let's move on from our card game desk to our board game pile, and of course, since I'm getting it the right fire, let's move on to the D&D board game as it is out now. So there is actually a Dungeons & Dragons board game out now. So this is a Dungeons & Dragons board game, of course, but it is created by Catalyst Labs, who does the Shadowrun stuff, so I'm very, very happy about that they're having a connection between Catalyst and Wizards, but that's just a weird thing there. So it's a 3 to 6 player deck building game, as the easiest way, and it's set within Dungeons & Dragons. So this is a little different. It's closer to what you would call what the Pathfinder game would be, the Pathfinder card game. So you choose from several different fantasy races, dwarf, elf, half-orc, human, all those normal ones. You get some quintessential roles, your clerics, rogues, fighters, wizards, etc. You get the weapons, spells, magic items, all the different things that you would have in a Dungeons & Dragons adventure, and throw them together in card game format. And you're going to be adventuring in the famed Sword Coast. So you're going into, of course, Faerun and the Forgotten Realms. And they're going to have various locales like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, Waterdeep in future expansions that they're planning. So this is just general Sword Coast now. We're planning out all this other stuff that they're going to be adding in to enhance your games. So you can level up your characters, get additional equipment, new feats, more. And each player starts with their own small deck. And during the game, you acquire cards, usually from like a larger common selection that you're going to be having. So there's the dynamic changing style of the game. The box set that is featured here has 2 different types of encounter decks for dungeons, one for wilderness, city, an adventure one, markets, magic items, characters, adventurers books, sticker sheets, tokens, plastic clips, and a rule book. It is $60. It's available now. This is actually one that I saw play tested a little bit at PAX Unplugged. Didn't have a chance to dive myself into it, but did get a chance to watch a little bit. Hey, there's a little preview for this Saturday. So, yes, Dragonfire. It's available now if you want to go out and get it and enjoy some Dungeons & Dragons card game-based action. And it does seem like an interesting one. Let's move on, though, in our card games to Bastion. Alright, so Bastion is out. There are enemies at the gates. That's the easiest way to describe what this game is all about. You are the last line of defense against an endless horde of monsters now outside the old city walls of the Citadel. You mount the walls, muster your courage, and battle against them. So it's got a lot of the feel of like tower defense video games would be, but it's a cooperative board game. You're basically getting this all-out war of creatures against you, mounting down against your castle, and they're slowly advancing against the wall, and you have to basically put together defenses with all the other people battling against it. So 1 to 4 players, or in this case 1 to 4 heroes, are going to be united in this battle against the hordes coming against you. And you're going to have some of the ability, or be one of the few ability to harness magical powers throughout the fortress to repel the invaders. That's the entire idea of your characters. You're heroes that can channel the energies of the fortress. So there's monsters arriving every turn, and you must travel around the various places of the castle, gather together your magical powers, attack the enemies at the wall. So it is a cooperative game through, and teamwork is the key to survival. There are a lot of different creatures in the horde that you can fight against that will be dangerous for you to face, each of them with their own unique abilities, unique attacks, unique ways of trying to get around your defenses from things that they can teleport, missile attacks, special magical attacks. And the idea, of course, is for you to save the city and, well, be the bastion of defense in this case. So you're outnumbered, you're outshined, you have to work together and beat them. Alright, let's move on though, of course. Hey, we got some releases from Cmon Games. Cmon Games has released a couple of extra things for some games we talked about that came out just a few months ago. But they're getting some extras coming out now. So, of course, we have, for Rum and Bones Second Tide, which we talked about, a new crew. Let me get a drink here. Yep. Here, the Bluetish Legion Hero Set 1. So, of course, this is just another little crew you can throw together based upon orcs that you can have for your Rum and Bones games. So it's 5 additional characters, a welcome additions to your crews, and orcs might be out for themselves, but you can get them to fight together with a little bit of push and throw forward. So if you are a fan of Rum and Bones, either the original or this new one here, you can check out this product release now. And now we do have a bunch of releases for, of course, Massive Darkness. Massive Darkness has been coming out with a whole lot of stuff. As we said, it was a kind of dungeon building game we previously just talked about, where you're both competing and cooperating at the same time. And now we have a whole bunch of things. Heroes and Monsters sets, miniatures, cards, a new campaign. Actually, 2 sets of Heroes and Monsters sets. Noble Warriors and the Cockatrice, and Blood Moon Assassins and the Elephant. That's quite a thing. The Rattling miniatures, and that Quest for the Crystal. So they're throwing out a lot of stuff. We did talk, as I said, about Massive Darkness in the past, and this is a bunch of materials that you can look into. This is their kind of big current flagship title, and if you do like it, this is a great way of expanding upon it and get a lot more things to it. There's more tiles, more monsters, more heroes, more allies, more adventures. So many new options that if you are looking for more options in your Massive Darkness games, you can get one or any of these packs and expand upon it. So these are all available now, and again, it's depending on how you want to expand your Massive Darkness games. You can throw all these together into it. You can add some enemies with the enemy box of the Ratlings. You can use the heroes and monsters sets to add more tiles and more materials to use. Of course, you can add more adventures with the Quest of the Crystals and Lava, the new campaign. So, Massive Darkness, this updates these expansions. They are available now if you want to check them out. Alright then, I think it's time for us to move on to our next segment. After that, we don't have any party game closet for you today, but we do have some... Let me see if I can find, if I'm choosing the right one. Nope, too far ahead. Nope, too far ahead. There's the right one. It's sometimes hard to find out which image is, especially since I put card games and board games in the wrong order today when I was organizing all this stuff to show you, which is like, oh crap, whoops, confused myself. Anyway, yep, Kickstart display. So here's the first one, which I find very interesting. We have, of course, Changeling the Lost 2nd edition is up on Kickstarter now. So as I've talked about with Onyx Path, they've been doing a lot of stuff, getting out more White Wolf materials, basically doing both the World of Darkness and the Chronicles of Darkness worlds and throwing them out for you to check out. And this is one from the Chronicles of Darkness. So this is Changeling the Lost, the 2nd edition, Prestige edition that they're putting out. So this is sort of like Changeling the Lost is back in 2007 when they first kind of came out. This is 10 years in the future, and they're putting out this new edition for it. So it does go with the Chronicles of Darkness. Let me let you know. And important things to say about it: it has been funded. It's at double the normal funding that they were planning. It's got 23 days to go. And so this is their distribution of this, their production of this. If you're not not knowledgeable about Changing the Lost, Changeling in general is all about the Fae folks within the World of Darkness / Chronicles of Darkness. They have different origins depending on which version you go for. The Lost here is more that you're a changeling being entering into the worlds of man, rather than the changeling beings from the worlds of man aiming to head back towards the Fae realms, which is the Changeling the Dreaming version of it. So you're more lost and kind of entering into it. So, yes, they have all chapters with all world building, more character creation, appendixes, lots of different things, lots of information that you can use to build your Changeling, the Lost characters. Let me check there. They have a bunch of add-ons if you want. They are working on stretch goals. They're funded. They have a companion, Elementalists. They have a novella, a book of kits, crowns that's been funded. Another they're working on it, a lot of stretch goals. Their next one is an art budget increase for only 3,000 more. So they'll include more art in the core book, and that's all they have for stretch goals right now. But if that one hits, they probably will add more in, as I said, they've already reached twice what they were planning on originally for this, and they're approaching their last stretch goal that they have planned out currently. This is one that's a very popular one that if you want to check out now, you can. Alright, let's talk about another Kickstarted RPG. I'm going to really butcher this name, but I'm going to try my best. A Glacier Art Fantasy RPG. I think I did that pretty well. Okay, cool. So there's a lot of different types of fantasy you can play on. Tolkien has this level of fantasy. There's D&D. There's all these different ones. There's high fantasy, very low fantasy. There's very things that are very non-fantasy, like Conan, that are still fantasy. So this is more falling into the lines of Conan the Barbarian type fantasy. So this is a very low non-fantasy. Fantasy is the best way to say it. It's a various ancient, dark age, medieval European settings. It's a darker, grimier gaming experience for you. It's effectively the best way is it's a low fantasy in the sword and sorcery kind of genre. It's got heroes, it's got monsters, and you're a player who plays a hero in this setting, facing against natural and supernatural enemies throughout these 9 kingdoms that they're developing. The story will have you exploring ancient ruins, solving various problems, the various struggles against good versus evil. You might things like face various shape-shifting monsters, demons, other things that will be threats to you. And it has the all sort of setting of the world that they're building in here too. So there's a lot to it. It's, if you like this style of fantasy gameplay, you can now. Of course, it's got 22 days to go. They are approximately 1/6 of the way funded right now. So if you're interested in this one, it does, and you like a good low fantasy games, which sometimes I've been known to play low fantasy games or run them, so this might be an interesting one for you. It is a multiple dice pull system, where each dice result is compared to a task number, success is applied to the situation. So it's going to be something similar to World of Darkness or Shadowrun, where it's, again, you roll a bunch of dice, you get them. They have special points you can give to give you an extra called Glacier points as a kind of extra flavor. You know, some kind of like a little bit of luck to deal with it. And excuse me. So, in Magic, there is no kind of wizards. What it is the calling upon the gods for aid. Which, if you're lucky or pious enough, they might give you something. But it's not something you can rely on. So, it is some interesting systems here. They do have some explanation videos that you can link to on their Kickstarter for learning a little bit more about the system if you want to dive into it deeper and see if it's something for you to check out and perhaps support. So, again, as with most Kickstarters, link will be in the description of the video when I put it out later on today. Alright, let's talk about the other Kickstarter RPG that's up, Marauder Task Force. Okay, so many of us played, of course, with action figures, especially the, nowadays, especially, there isn't really a gender for action figures. I know I played with plenty when I was younger. I did a lot of weird things with them. You could have your G.I. Joes, Ninja Turtles, etc. And you've even come up with some stuff. So Marauder Task Force is kind of like doing a little bit of playing with action figures. And it's going to be with its own line of customizable action figures. So that's a good way of saying it. So the picture says it all there. So, basic information. They are I have to do some quick math in my head. About a fifth of the way funded, 18 days to go. And it's action figure-based tactical combat game. It's the easiest way to do that. And you can do it in the role-playing game style, or you could do this in one-on-one skirmish game style. So that's the different ways you can play this game system when you would get it. So you build your own characters with Marauder gun runners, a line of the customizable figures, and then it's got like module accessories that you're putting together to make your own version of it. And between missions, you can reconfigure your character based on the types of operations with different accessories. There's cards, weapons, cards. One set of weapon and armor cards, which will help you out. It'll have a core rule book, everything you need to know about the game for the different cards. And there will be more accessories that will be coming out. They're planning for a full set of accessories that will help you to build up things with the various figures and stuff. And as I said, there's two ways of playing it. The campaign is built around a game master who leads it in typical RPG fashion. Each player builds their character based on class templates. They can use an existing figure, customize their own. Players then are in squad of highly trained operatives. Think of like a group of commandos that are going and taking on various missions, and then you manage the team in downtime. Skirmish is a small battle between two opposing squads, where a player or a team of players takes on one squad, and each with their own specific win condition based upon scenarios agreed upon by both sides. So this is definitely, you could have two players facing off in this one, or you could have like 4, 6, etc., or maybe like odd numbers, 2 versus 1, because you're all taking on two different things. Now, there are features that you could have the squads balanced. You could have a weaker force, but easier objectives to gain. There's a lot of ways that you can build up using this in the skirmish rules that would make it very interesting to play out, that you can check out. And the customizable figures are kind of interesting. You can check out stuff on what they do. They look very G.I. Joe. So if you're a fan of G.I. Joe or something similar, Ninja Turtles, all those stuff, a lot of those action figures you could get when we were much, You can probably still get them now, but I don't think they're... I don't know. I just don't feel they're as cool as they used to be. But that's a different story entirely, which I don't want to bring in here. Anyway, so you can check this out now. It is up, and you can support it if you want to. All right, let's talk about Space Race Intercosmos, a card game. So, big thing here, of course, has been funded. It's reached twice its goal, about 16 days to go. So it's for 1 to 5 players. It's a strategic engine building card game. It's got lots of interesting mechanics and illustrations. So this is kind of talking about the space race between US and Russia. And, you know, we had Sputnik going up first, then Yuri Gagarin, and then our manned missions to the moon. And it's sort of the space race between Soviets and Russia. And what if it was more than just them, is basically what this is kind of saying. You're in charge of a space agency looking to develop better gear to reach the stars. You might crash and burn. You might actually be successful. It's basically constructing powerful combinations of different abilities to allow you to explore space and become the top one. Top space exploration agency. Wow, forgot agency for a second there. So you're the director of this agency, and you have 7 decades of space exploration to go. And your goal is, along the way, is to recruit leaders, launch the projects, develop the technologies, fund your laboratory, and achieve various breakthroughs. Lots of stuff to do here in this one, of course. And it could be played on your own because it is 1 to 4. You can sort of just see how well you can do, or you can compete against each other. There are scenarios that you can have, basically with historical content to have you go against. And if they get more funding, as they've been working on, and new things, they're putting out more expansions with more scenarios, various types of achievements. A 5th group, which is the Chinese space program, so you have a 5th player that you can add in the expansions which are being worked on, and 90 new cards. And they, I believe, have gotten their first expansion, at least with the stretch goals, if I can find it. Man, sometimes looking through Kickstarters, it's hard to get everything. So they do have the first expansion funded. Entering space, more scenarios, more achievements. They're working on more programs and such. So there is more stuff that they're planning to come out with. God, they currently have to update their stretch goals. Technically, they've. Oh wait, let me check. This is different money system. They have reached the last one, 42, whatever that is. God, I think it's euros. Okay, so they have hit... They're on more scenarios right now that they're getting. So they've added a whole bunch of new stuff. They've got the expansion. They've got the original. They've gotten it funded. So, I mean... And that includes the Space Race expansion. You know, that's what it is when they funded it. They got the Space Race expansion. They're working a lot of their stretch goals right now. So if you're interested in this interesting space race-based card game, you can check it out now. They are promising free shipping to Euro-friendly and US-friendly, basically, places. So if you're in Europe or America, you get free shipping. Otherwise, you do have to pay shipping, but still, it's a pretty interesting game that is out now that you can check out, of course, and join the Kickstarter. All right, All Out War Battlegrounds. Technically, it's Volume 1, but this is a tabletop mini game. So this is a new tabletop mini game that's being basically kickstarted. It's you got a lot of those tabletop minis. You got your real-time strategy, and this is basically tabletop mini games and real-time strategy kind of trying to combine themselves into one. And it's basically harkening back to a little bit of the original Warcraft in their themes. And if you like fantasy miniatures games, this might be something for you to check out. So, it is close to being funded. It's about 3/4 of the way funded, 26 days to go. It uses a 3D printer, of course, to offer out a lot of the miniatures and stuff. It's made for 2 players. It's going to be head-to-head. 2 to 3 hours, they're saying. They're estimating it. It's normal. It's really adventure. It is available in French and English right now. It is basically trying to mimic some of the old war games of the 80s and 90s. They're putting it together. It's going to have 100+ pieces, 40 special actions that you can run as tactics, and characters are going to play a role in coordinating the army. You gain experience points. You level up a little bit like in role-playing games. There's buildings, scenery. Everything on the table has hit points that can be interacted with. There's siege rules. There's a lot of stuff to this that build it up to be a very interesting tabletop miniatures game that maybe you want to check out now. They do have a lot of rules with the core set, a couple optional rules, various things for you to put together to build your own version of this and put it together and have you and another friend battle it out for supremacy. So, yeah. All Out War is, of course, up on Kickstarter now, if you want to check it out. All Out War Battlegrounds Volume 1. They want some more of these eventually. So, hey, you know, Volume 1's out now. All right. We have Andrana Project Social Deduction Game. Once again, trying to butcher names, but let's, you know, work my best not to butcher stuff. So this is a social deduction game, because guess what? We all have cell phones now. Yep. It's a game similar to like Werewolf or Ultimate Werewolf, or if you're talking about games on Steam, something like Town of Salem, where everybody has a role and a goal to do, and you're basically kept a secret character that you keep silent where you're deducing what everybody else's characters are. It's for a group of 4 to 12 players. It's going to be set in the year 2067, where there's 2 opposing sides, the World Federation and the New Luddites. Glad I'm pronouncing that correctly. You're going to be assigned a random unique character whose unique actions. You hide your character, you try to figure out what everybody is, what each other's teams are, what team you're on. You, in a way, everything is kind of registered too. So it is about 2/5 of the way funded with 14 days to go. It's 15 to 20 minutes of playtime. There are no boards, cards. It's just basically using your phone here. Hi, cat. Come on. Up on the bed again. Give me a second here. Okay, Streamcat has been taken care of. Excellent. There's no turns, no downtime. It's made to basically be using your phone to get a lot of stuff done, and you use the deductions and interactions with others during that time. So it is a game that is definitely based upon you using your game screen on your phone to be the best, and talking with each other is your best weapon, basically lying to each other and basically figuring out everything about each other and determining, using the information provided to you on your phone, what's going on. So it is a game that is definitely based around you using, well, your phone. Easiest way to say it. That the cards that you're going to be given are your basically little rolls and stuff, and after that, just that. So it's an interesting little take on that entire werewolf genre that maybe you want to check out now if you're interested in it. So of course, it's up on Kickstarter and it's doing decently. Let's move on, though, of course, to Runes and Ragnarok. It's a dice... whoops. I don't want to hit that. A dice-building combat game for 2 to 4 players. So, basic thing here. Odin is missing. It might not seem that bad, you know, it's a quick jaunt, but this is a pretty serious whatever missing it is. Yggdrasil, the world tree, is shaking violently. Its limbs have been throwing chaos into the 9 realms, and the other Norse gods are now deciding something must be done, and someone has to become the new Allfather. But as I say, there can only be one! So it's going to be a battle out to become the new Allfather because Odin's missing, and someone has to replace him to protect the 9 realms. Very Viking Norse kind of story behind it, and it's a dice-based elimination game. and it's going to be in that Norse mythology. Of course, you're a god. You have awesome power. You're going to summon epic allies to fight with you, throw spells out that could help you in your tide of battle, maybe get some kind of legendary relics that will help you throw yourself, the game, to the next level. There's a lot of options to help you battle against the other Norse gods. So, this is about halfway funded with 20 days to go. It will have 4 gods, 50 customizable dice, 24 minions that are available for it at this time. It's going to be part of it. 2 to 4 players, 40 to 80 minutes is the estimate for playing the game as it is. So, you're going to pick a hero at random, which unfortunately, it's hard to read this. Let's see if I can read it a little better. Nope, I can't read a lot better. Well, Thor is one of them. Of course, Thor is one of them. The rest of them, it's hard for me to read. So you pick up some minions along with their dice. You are going to cast the rune dice to convert them to spells and focus. Buy minions, buy upgrades, attack with their minions. Last one standing wins. The rules manual is not final, but the PDF currently of it is up on their Kickstarter if you want to read into the rules. There's, of course, videos for playing it, various things like that. You get I said everything you get in it. The relics, the minions, the dice, the heroes, which there's 46 dice in here. The first player tokens, 4 player boards, 4 D20s, and 42 tokens. Lots of stuff in the box for you to get. They do have some stretch goals, which will be more contents and materials coming out as they are funded and what their planning is. So, yep. If you're interested in this one, it is up now, and you can check it out for a, dice building game. Most of the time it's a card building game, but hey, dice building games are interesting. So now I'm going to talk about a Kickstarter that's technically been funded, but they do have options for some late pledges. So if you are interested in this one that has been funded and want to add it to pledges, they do have options for you to late pledge into them to join up and do it. In case you missed the campaign, they do have 2 options available for late pledges. So, it is Oko Chronicles. Alright, so this is a miniatures board game. Okay, pretty simple. That's an easy way of describing it. It's in the Palace of Mists. Onis are working on their plan to expand their nefarious goals. To throw at them, the hero Oko and his buddies infiltrate into the heart of the palace and disrupt them. But can all the heroes be trusted? Is one of them secretly an Oni? Ooh, will there be betrayal there? You got to kind of figure that out as you're playing the miniatures board game. So it's for 2 to 5 players. You play in 60 to 90 minutes. You're taking the legendary comic book hero Oko and his traveling companions to hunt down the Oni. Thwart them. Pretty simple there. And one of the players will actually take the role of the Oni and their lackeys and attempt to achieve their objectives without revealing themselves or being forced to flee by the heroes. Meanwhile, 1 to 4 players take the role of Oko's legendary band of demon hunters and carry out their investigation to uncover the Oni's hidden agendas and their stuff. So, it certainly was funded. It was funded with nearly 5 times the amount it was looking for, so there was a lot of extras and things. They unlocked a whole bunch of stretch goals and bonuses. For the late pledges, they do include locked stretch goals. So that's a good thing too. So if you do want to do a late pledge now, there will be shipping fees, but you can get the core game, the Monastery and Silver Plum Tree expansions for €100, including all the unlocked stretch goals, and everything possible for €175. So yeah, if you want to get it, they do have a bunch of of expansions they've kind of put together with this. A lot of stretch goals, a lot of material they put together. It's basically put a lot of things together. They've got a whole bunch of miniatures, action cards, equipment, the Oni themselves they'll be battling against, the things to investigate. The rule book's available now, and, you know, again, this has technically been funded. It's past the thing, but if you want to pledge late, you can now. They do have that option up on their Kickstarter, so I will put it up in case you're interested in this one, because I didn't talk about it while it was still up. So, all right, well, that's a great news for today. We are done with the news of the week. So I hope everybody had a great time, learned about everything. As usual, we will talk about some of these up on Discussing Tabletop this Saturday. Of course, this Saturday we'll hopefully be able to talk about a bunch of the stuff that me and Joe saw at PAX Unplugged. If you have any questions about any of these news stories, go ahead and just leave them in the comments of this video when I put it up on YouTube, or you can hit me up on my Twitter or Discord. Always be glad to have you join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, etc. like that. Any long-term discussion questions that you might want us to talk about also on Discussing Tabletop, rather than just answering them there, you can suggest them there. We have discussingtabletop@yahoo.com as a way of reaching us. Both Worm and Joe will take those questions also, so there's lots of ways that you can ask us about any of these things, have us discuss them, etc. We're all willing to do that because, you know, we love talking about these things and sharing information with these, especially if you have some questions about tabletop games that might have been at PAX that I didn't talk about here. You can also leave them there, see what I looked into, things like that.